everyone, I'm Nate, also known as Natendo, and I'm here today with a Banjo-Kazooie review. Now before we go into this review, I'd like to let you know that I didn't actually play the Banjo-Kazooie until my freshman year of high school. Now at the time, the PlayStation 3 and the Xbox 360 were already coming out, so it was the dawn of the next generation of consoles. And the fact that this game stood out to me speaks volumes about its quality because it came out in 1998. Now, the first real game like this to come out was Super Mario 64, which was a milestone for video games. Bringing a much beloved Nintendo character into the third dimension was no easy task. During development, Nintendo had to figure out how to deal with movement, and for the first time, camera work for the new Mario title. It was decided to use a free roam camera to allow the player to move easily through the levels. When Mario hit the store shelves in September of 1996, it would soon share the same shelves with its cousin, Banjo-Kazooie, just 2 years later. Rare was founded back in 1985 by Tim and Chris Stamper, the same year the NES was released in North America. They're best known for the Donkey Kong Country series on the Super Nintendo, which I hope to cover in a future review, as well as 007 GoldenEye, Perfect Dark, Battletoads, Killer Instinct, Conker's Bad Fur Day, and obviously the Banjo-Kazooie series. During the early 90s, and up until about 2001, Rare was the top game developer. Hell, most of the games that I owned for the Nintendo 64 were Rare titles. Rare just had something that other developers just could not capture. All of their games had a grand sense of adventure. From the moment I started up Banjo-Kazooie for the first time, I knew I was going to go on a nostalgia trip like no other. A lot of games on the N64 didn't age too well, but Banjo-Kazooie isn't one of them, and 17 years later, I still find myself coming back to this series time and time again. So let's stop wasting time and let's hop into the story. Banjo-Kazooie starts off with the game's rhyming antagonist Gruntilda speaking to Dingpot, when he informs her that there is a girl in the land that is far more beautiful than herself. Outraged, Gruntilda sets out to capture Tootie and steal her beauty using one of Grunty's machines. After capturing Tootie, she quickly realizes she's in for some trouble when she finds out Tootie has a big brother, which just so happens to be our beloved protagonist, Banjo. Banjo sets off on his quest with his partner Kazooie to defeat Grunty and save his sister by visiting the 9 open-world levels and collecting the musical notes, empty honeycomb pieces, Jinjos, and most importantly, Jiggies, found within each world. After all of this collecting, boss battling, and rage quitting, you find yourself at the final boss battle with Gruntilda, which we'll save for later in this review, but for now, on to the gameplay. Banjo-Kazooie is filled to the brim with items to collect and places to explore. Each one of the 9 worlds has a distinct and unique look that will make the gamer never feel like they've been there before. Mumbo's Mountain is a perfect starter level. It teaches you the basics of how to handle your character with the easier platforming sections, and extremely easy boss. We're also introduced to one of the biggest mechanics of the game, transformations. In the Banjo-Kazooie series, most of the levels give you the option to transform into some kind of object or animal. Each transformation has unique abilities that Banjo and Kazooie cannot do otherwise. For example, during the Mumbo Mountain level, you will come across a termite mound with platforms too steep for Kazooie's Talon Trot. You'll need to visit the shaman Mumbo Jumbo and pay the Mumbo token fee to transform into a termite, which will allow you to climb almost any slanted surface. The other transformations include a crocodile in Bubble Gloop Swamp, which can move freely in the Piranha-filled river, a walrus in Freeze Easy Peak that protects you from the ice-cold water, a pumpkin in Mad Monster Mansion, which allows you to flush yourself down a toilet. You know, can this just be the one Jiggy that we just don't get? Oh god. And finally, a bee in the level Click Clock Wood, which allows you to fly around freely without using any feathers or flight pad. Very rarely, Mumbo will transform you into a washing machine as a joke, but interestingly enough, this ends up being a complete transformation in the game's sequel, Banjo-Tooie. And good God, playing as that thing is so annoying! The constant noise! Good, get that thing some WD-40. Seriously, you'll hear this goddamn thing for an hour. This game does a good job at scaling the level difficulty as you progress. Mumbo Mountain is very hard to die on, whereas Treasure Trove Cove has high cliffs, a shark straight out of Jaws, and treasure chests with teeth. Yes, with teeth. I wouldn't bend over that if I were you, Link. The other levels in the game introduce new enemies, challenges, and themes. One of my favorite levels being Mad Monster Mansion. I've always been a huge fan of Halloween-themed levels as far as I can remember. Exploring the haunted house while looking for jiggies and notes reminded me of the Halloween-themed I Spy books that I used to look at when I was a kid. Click Clock Wood has to be one of the more intricate levels. The level has 4 different sections representing the 4 different seasons: spring, summer, fall, and winter. Each season adding different platforms and hazards. By far one of the hardest levels. It makes sense too, seeing as it's the last level before the final battle with Gruntilda. Now, one thing that is annoying about this game is that when you die during a level, or you leave by accident, all of your note progress will be reset until you pass your previous note record. This is a major pain in the ass with levels like Rusty Bucket Bay. Let's say you collect 90 notes, and the last few are in the engine room. If you fall off, it's an instant death. All 90 notes are gone. However, when you leave the level, it will say you still have the 90 notes, and it will add the 90 notes to your collection total. If you're a completionist like myself, unless you get all 100 notes in that level before dying, you'll have to recollect all the notes you've collected previously before that 90 note count goes up. And trust me, you'll be replaying through Rusty Bucket Bay and Click Clock Wood several times on your first playthrough of this game if you want to get all 900 notes. The issue of collecting lives and losing note progression is fixed in the second game by saving your note progression even if you die or leave the level. In each level there is a hidden Grunty button that when smashed makes a Jiggy appear in Gruntilda's lair. There are 10 Jiggies to collect in her lair, along with the 10 in each level, bringing the game's Jiggy total to 100. Now, aside from the notes and Jiggies, there are also hidden locations where the character Cheeto hides. Every time you encounter Cheeto, he gives you a new cheat, which you can activate by entering the phrase into the floor of the sandcastle in Treasure Trove Cove. These cheats are more like upgrades than actual cheats. There are some secret cheats that have to do with the stop and swap secret eggs, but aren't required to complete the game. Just a neat thing to do. There are also empty honeycomb pieces that are very similar to the heart pieces in the Zelda games. Collect 6 empty honeycomb pieces to add an extra honeycomb to your life bar. If you manage to collect nearly all the notes and Jiggies, you'll be granted double life at the end of the game. This is very useful for the final battle against Gruntilda. Speaking of which, before the final battle, there is a board game-like section where you must complete different questions and challenges to get to the other side. This is where Gruntilda's good sister, Bruntilda, comes into play. Throughout Gruntilda's lair, you'll find this pink-dressed fairy godmother-looking character. Being Gruntilda's sister, she knows a lot of personal information about Gruntilda that you'll need to know in order to answer some of the questions during the board game section. Different panels represent different challenges. The ones you really need to be careful of are the red skull panels. If you fail the question or challenge, it will be an instant death, and you need to start over. There are also obscure questions like how many pyramids are in Gobi's desert, as well as close-up screenshots of an object from a level in which you must guess which level it is from. I highly recommend paying attention to the beautiful levels that you play through so you have a better chance of completing this section of the game. Some questions are easier than others, but no 2 attempts at this board game challenge will be the same. She'll ask different questions almost every time, so you really have to know this game like the back of your hand. And if you've completed the game 100% up until this point, you should still remember what each level looks like inside and out. Unfortunately, the questions are timed, therefore it makes it very difficult to look up the answers online before the timer runs out. Also, I don't believe you can pause the game while the questions are being asked, but once you fight your way through the questions using sheer brain power and a little brawn on the challenges, we are moments away from the final boss battle against Gruntilda. The battle starts out with Gruntilda charging at you on the broom. Occasionally, her broom will spit out smoke, and this is your cue to attack her. After a few cycles of this, she'll start flying outside the arena, shooting you from afar. This is very reminiscent of the battle with Conga, the very first boss we fight in the game. Use your eggs to shoot her from the top of the platforms until the next part of the battle starts. This part gave me a lot of trouble, because it's very difficult to use your dive bomb attack against a moving target due to the initial charge up and how fast you move. Once you manage to hit her enough times, the final part of the battle will commence. Jinjo statues will rise from the ground in which you must shoot eggs into the holes. Once you shoot enough eggs into them, the Jinjo will fly through the air and crash into Gruntilda, dealing damage to her. Finally, a large statue will appear containing a gigantic Jinjo. When you manage to shoot enough eggs into the statue while avoiding Gruntilda's bombardment, the giant Jinjo will break free from the rock statue and charge at Gruntilda several times until she falls to her doom. A boulder then falls on top of her and seals her in the earth, and the game is won. Or is it? The story will continue in the next review. Hey guys, it was an awesome time recording this review, and if you liked it, let me know by commenting in the comment section below. Also, I'm looking forward to see what you guys want to see me review, because I need ideas for my next review. Hopefully, I might be doing it within the next week. I'm not sure, it all depends on which game I might be doing. I was thinking about doing Banjo-Tooie, as I hinted in the video, but it's all up for discussion. I also have a Twitch channel, which I will post down in the description below if you'd like to check that out. What I like to do is I basically stream anything from 100% completion runs of games to just brand new games that came out. Anything under the sun is what I'll do. But for now, I'm Nate, also known as Natendo, and I hope to see you guys in the next review.